Thank you so much for signing up for this course on the AZ-104 Microsoft Azure Administrator exam. My name is Scott Duffy. This course covers all of the requirements of the AZ-104 exam. If you take and pass this exam, you'll qualify for Microsoft certification as an Azure Administrator at the associate level. So as you can see, this course does cover all of the requirements, and you're signed up for it, so that's great. This is not a short course, so I want to set the expectation that you're not going to be able to sit down and watch this course in a day or in a weekend and then go and take the test the following Monday. This is going to require some study. I'm expecting you to go off into the Azure portal, do some of the work yourself, do some of the assignments, and it's going to take some time to prepare for this test. There's also a practice exam at the end of this course that you can go and test your knowledge against some practice questions. So you're going to go through this course. I do generally go through the requirements of the exam on a section-by-section basis. Let's switch over to the Microsoft landing page. If you enter the keyword AZ-104 into your favorite search engine, the first result should be the Microsoft Learn website that takes you to the landing page for the certification. On this page, you're going to see the time that the exam was last updated. And so just go and check to make sure that it hasn't been recently updated or it won't be updated before you take the test. I do try to keep this course up to date with the latest, and luckily Microsoft does not update this exam super frequently anymore. So check the date on the landing page for Microsoft Learn to make sure that there's no changes on the horizon. Now, this course is based on Azure administration, and so we're talking about some of the technical aspects of Azure. It is expected that you do have a bit of a technical background. I'm not going to go over the fundamental basics of what a network is or how the IP addressing system works and things like that. We will talk about the cloud and how virtual networks work, how the CIDR notation is within Microsoft Azure for specifying ranges of IP addresses, etc., but not the basic fundamentals. We're going to talk about virtual networks, storage, compute. Identity is a big feature of Azure, security, and governance. And they're expecting that you are either an administrator or looking to be an administrator. And so you're looking to work in those roles of delivering solutions to clients. Microsoft does not just contain the portal. There's also some scripting elements, PowerShell and CLI we're going to cover in this course. The way you can predefine and configure resources using templates, and the Enter ID tool for identity. So I'm on this page. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. They've changed this page last couple of years, so some of the stuff has changed. This is where you can book the exam. So you'll see it saying scheduled through Pearson VUE, and you can schedule the exam. It's offered not only in English, but in a number of languages, so if that's more comfortable for you, you may want to try that. The price of the exam does vary based on your location, so it's $165 US. Price hasn't changed in a few years, but if you're based in different location, for instance in Europe, you are going to see a different price. A lot of this is based on the exchange rate, which is fluctuating, of course. This exam does last for 12 months, and you do have to renew it after 12 months, but it's very easy to renew. You do it online, it doesn't cost anything, and it can be done in 15 or 20 minutes, so don't be afraid of that. Now, this certification resources, the exam study guide, is where we're going to find out all of the details of the exam, what is covered. We go down under the skills measured section. We're going to see who this exam is for. That's a bit of a repeat, but how the exam is divided. Okay, under skills at a glance, you get the percentage breakdowns between identities, storage, compute, virtual networking, and the monitoring and maintenance of Azure resources. So there is between 10, 20, 25% to these different sections. Like I said, this course is broken down section by section and topic by topic. So you will find videos in this course for each of these in terms of users, external users, roles, locks, groups, things like that. So my recommendation is just to follow the course section by section, stop at various points, go and test it yourself. If you're interested in creating some users and groups in Entra, go into Azure and do that and see it with your own eyes, make the mistakes, troubleshoot it, fix it, make it work, and continue on. But Scott, what if I don't have an Azure account? I can help you with that. We'll talk about how to get a free account in the next video. I don't believe that you can pass without any hands-on experience. And for that, you're going to need an Azure account. Now, Azure does provide a free account with some limited privileges if you need one to pass, or if you already have access to an Azure account through your work or some other means, then you can use that account. If you do already have an account set up and ready to go, you can skip the rest of this video and move on to the next section. The rest of this video, we're going to be talking about the Azure free account, the limitations on that, and how to get one. Now, go to your favorite search engine. In this case, it's Google. I enter the word Azure free and hit enter. Now, the first link that comes up is the Microsoft website, azure.microsoft.com. If I click on it, you can see the advertisement for the Microsoft Azure free account. Now, scrolling down a little bit, we can look at what the limitations are, because it's very important to keep in mind while you're studying when those expiry dates are. Now, Microsoft does things a little differently than AWS. You get 30 days of free usage of Azure with a $200 credit. Now, if you use up that $200 within the 30 days, then you're going to have your services shut off. Or when the 30 days runs out and you haven't used your credit, you're going to basically lose that credit. And on top of that, there are 12 months of free services included in the free account. And these services switch over to paid services after 12 months. And there are also always free services. Scrolling down a little bit more, we can look at the different services that are available. So outside of the $200 credit in the first 30 days, you can also get up to 2 virtual machines of a small size for up to 12 months. So you can still continue to practice even after the 30 days is over. You get some disk space, some blob storage, file storage, etc. Scroll back to the top and we're going to say start free. Now, in order to access Azure, you do need a Microsoft account. I can use, this is the account I already have for Azure, but I can't get a second free account. Once you've used it, you can't have it again. So I'm going to say use another account. Now, if you have another Microsoft valid email address like Hotmail, Outlook, or something else, you can certainly use that one. Or if you don't have one and you want to use a different email address, it says create one and you can say create an account. You can provide your current email address, whether it's your personal or work address, or you can even create a new address. So let's say we got past this creating an account aspect. Now, to create an Azure account, you do need to provide some information. You need to provide your name and phone number. You need to prove your identification by phone. You are also going to have to provide a credit card as validation and sign the agreement. Now, Microsoft does promise that there is no automatic charges at the end of the 30 days. So your services will shut off if you use up your credit or if your 30 days have expired, and they're not going to start magically billing your credit card. But you do need a credit card in order to create an account. Part of the reason of this is so that they can restrict you to a single account per person. So you can't create an unlimited number of free accounts. Now, I should mention that if you are a student studying at an accredited school, you can get a free Azure account that does not require a credit card. Now, the number of credits you get, $100, is less than for a regular free account. And some of the free things that are included are a little bit less. So go to azure.microsoft.com/free/students, and you can get yourself a student account with no credit card required if you qualify. Once you've signed up for Azure, you're going to want to log into the portal. Now, the central URL for the Azure portal is portal.azure.com. That is where you're going to go every time you want to log into Azure and do something with it. Once you're logged in, you're going to see a homepage similar to this. You're going to have some very frequent services across the top and some other options, including documentation and learning resources along the bottom. We're going to get into all of these later in this course. But for now, if you're able to get this far, then congratulations, you've successfully created an Azure account. Now, one thing that people worry about, justifiably, is cost overruns while learning or playing around in the cloud. It is quite possible to go into the cloud, create a resource such as a virtual machine, and then start racking up $1 per hour of charges, and then you've totally forgotten about it. You went off to go for dinner, you go to sleep, you wake up the next day, and somehow you've racked up $25 of charges, and it can be even worse. There are some resources, such as Cosmos DB, which can be quite expensive at the higher end. So in this video, we're going to talk about the concept of budgets. And if you are playing around with a pay-as-you-go subscription and it's your own money that's on the line, I definitely recommend that you pay attention to budgets. It's also going to be on the test. And if you have an Azure free account, this might be less useful because obviously it is coming out of credits that Microsoft is giving to you. But again, it's useful to know what a concept of a budget is in Azure. So to get there, we're going to go into the subscriptions tab. You can see on my left here, I have subscriptions permanently tabbed to my menu. You can also go under all services and search for subscriptions. I'm going to choose my pay-as-you-go subscription. Now, again, if you have a free plan, then this is going to be kind of different and kind of irrelevant because you can't create a budget for the free plan, I don't think. So we're under the subscription and we can see my spending rate's very low right now, 20 cents currently. And Microsoft is estimating that by the end of the month, I will have racked up 23 cents. So I've definitely closed this account down to the minimum that I can get away with spending while being able to keep my files here. Now, this hasn't always been true, but right now my account is at a very low level. But let's say for the sake of argument, I do want to be notified if my spending reaches $50. So I go under subscription and I go under budgets. I don't have a budget currently. I'm going to add a budget. Now, the first thing to keep in mind is that you can create a budget. It can be at a scope. So let's say you want to create a budget at a resource group level. Then you can add a filter to filter down beyond the scope into specific resource groups. So let's say I want to say filter based on resource group name. And I want to know that for this particular resource group. So now I can have a budget down to the resource group level. You saw also there were filters based on product, right? Based on publisher of the resource. If I had reservations, VM reservations, things like that. Tags even. So you can create budgets based on any number of things. Give our budget a name. So I'm going to say spending too much. And at what frequency we want to measure this budget. So you can see by default, there's a monthly frequency. We can choose to do it a quarterly or annual frequency. I think monthly is fine for now. Now, budgets have both a creation date and an expiration date. So this budget is going to last me for 2 years by default. I can change that to say this budget's good for 4 years. Now, I said I wanted to be alerted when the budget hit $50, so I can enter the amount in the currency that I work with. I can also see historically over the months what my spending has been against this account. Like I said, I keep this pretty low. I'm going to say next. Now, the question is then, what happens when the budget hits $50? Now, you might think that the budget will then stop spending once it hits $50, that the charges will stop accumulating. And that is actually not the way it works. The way that it works is it lets you know. So there is no automated actions that happen other than sending out alerts. Now, you can have multiple alerts for this one budget. So for instance, when the actual budget hits 100% of the budget, $50, then I can want something to happen. There's these things called action groups, and this action group will send me an SMS message in this case in terms of notifying me. I can also let me know when it's forecasted to reach $50 for the month. So let's say we are 2 days into the month and I've just kicked off a virtual machine that costs $1 an hour. The next time the forecast runs, and it's not real time, but in a few hours, the forecast will be recalculated and it will notify me even if it hasn't currently hit $50. I can say I want to be texted even if the forecast hits $50. You might also want to be notified when half of your budget has been reached. So that could be an unusual situation. And so you can have different alerts at different percentages based on either the actual or the forecast. Now, there is a mandatory email that you have to add here. And then you can set which language you want to be notified in. It doesn't take into effect right away. It takes a few hours for the evaluation to happen. All right, so then I can say create. So now I have a budget in place that will notify me when my budget hits the $50. It'll also notify me when it's forecasted to hit $50 or when 50% of the budget has been reached. And like I said, it's not a real-time evaluation, so it's not going to notify me within minutes or seconds of reaching $50. And it's not going to stop any of the jobs or stop any of the VMs. I can mention that it is possible to have your action groups to actually do things. So let's go under next. And if I go under manage action group, right now I have this email and SMS message set up, but there are also ways of doing action groups. Let's call this new action group. I can call this stop all VMs, right? And there's necessarily no notifications that need to go out. You can not have them, but you can have Azure functions that run, automations, some type of webhook that calls, that could be a logic app or some external thing that happens. So you can have automations that run once your budget is reached, or you can just have it send you a text or an SMS or an email or something like that. So before we get into the content, I just want to take a minute here to talk about the Udemy video player. In the bottom left of the screen is the speed control. And if you think I'm talking too fast or talking too slow, you can change the speed of that down in the left. On the right is the captions. And if you want to see the text of what I'm saying at the bottom of the video, you can choose either the English language captions or in another language. If you want to see a transcript, there's also a transcript button. And so you can see on the side of the screen the script of this video. Finally, reviews are the lifeblood of this course. So if you do choose to leave a review, I would be so grateful. This will help other students to find this course in search. If you're not ready to leave a review, you can click the Ask Me Later button or Ask Me at the end of the course. Both options are available to you. But if you are willing to leave a review, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for being a student. If there's something that I can do to make your experience better, please let me know in the Q&A section of the course. Thank you.